David Davis made a major concession to Brexit rebels today as he declared any final deal will be enshrined in a separate Act of Parliament. The Brexit Secretary acted to head off an impending clash with Tory Remainers as he updated MPs on progress with negotiations. It fulfills one of the key demands made by Conservative politicians calling for a softer departure from the EU. But ministers are still facing a titanic battle to push the EU withdrawal bill through Parliament. Former ministers Dominic Grieve, Nicky Morgan and Anna Soubry are among those threatening to side with Labour in votes on the legislation, which is coming back to the House of Commons this week. More than 400 amendments have been tabled, with the first major clashes due to be over whether to include a fixed Brexit date on the front page of the law. Delivering a statement to MPs, Brexit Secretary acted to head off an impending clash with Tory Remainers by committing to separate legislation on any deal with the EU. The Prime Minister, pictured in Downing Street today, is braced for a struggle over the EU withdrawal bill, which is being stewarded through Parliament by Brexit Secretary David Davis, pictured right today. Shadow Brexit Secretary Sir Keir Starmer, pictured in the Commons today, is insisting that there must not be a red line against keeping the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice during a transition period. Mr. Grieve set the tone for the argument this morning, branding the idea incoherent and thoroughly stupid, adding that it won't have my support. Mrs. Morgan said Theresa May's support for fixing a date in legislation showed she had a political tenure and would only deepen divisions in her party. Ms. Soubry said the proposal was foolish, and said she had already made concessions to the EU referendum result by voting in favour of triggering Article 50. I am not going to vote against my conscience again, she told the BBC. Addressing the Commons this afternoon, Mr. Davis sought to clear out one of the potential flashpoints by committing to a separate bill on any deal. It is clear that we need to take further steps to provide clarity and certainty, both in the negotiations and at home, regarding the implementation of any agreement into UK law, Mr. Davis said. I can now confirm that, once we have reached an agreement, we will bring forward a specific piece of primary legislation to implement that agreement. This will be known as the Withdrawal Agreement and Implementation Bill. Mr. Davis said the move would ensure major policies set out in the Withdrawal Agreement will be directly implemented into UK law by primary legislation, not by secondary legislation under the Withdrawal Bill. He added, this also means that Parliament will be given time to debate, scrutinise and vote on the final agreement we strike with the EU. This agreement will only hold if Parliament approve it. But Mr. Davis also reiterated that the UK would still leave the EU in March 2019, even if MPs and peers blocked the legislation. November the 22nd, Chancellor Philip Hammond unveils the UK budget.